Hello, I'm Stan Hall. Welcome to this edition of Gwinnett Sports Commission's Get in the Game. If you're like me, many of you probably participated in sports when you were younger. And I'm sure that many of you are still involved in sports today. But very few of us ever make it to the point where we are inducted into a Sports Hall of Fame. These are for the elite athletes who have accomplished those goals that separate them from the rest of the pack. You may not know it, but we actually have a Sports Hall of Fame here in Gwinnett County where our local athletes are recognized. The Gwinnett Foundation is the home of the Gwinnett County Sports Hall of Fame. And today we're going to talk to the executive director of the foundation as well as one of the most recent inductees into the Hall of Fame. Our guest today is Kelly Herndon of the Gwinnett Foundation and David Green, who was just inducted this year. Kelly and David, welcome to the show and thank you for being with us. We appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Before we get into the Hall of Fame, let's talk about the foundation. I know they're both connected in some way, but tell us a little bit about the foundation, what you do, the mission, etc.
Stan, the Gwinnett County Public School Foundation was established to enhance programs of Gwinnett County Public Schools. We do that in a variety of ways through scholarships. We apply for state and federal grants. We also seek corporate donors, and we've had a great deal of success. It's been pretty exciting. This year alone, we've issued over $200,000 in checks to local schools. That's money that is needed during the school year. It's a pretty exciting place to work. And a couple of years ago, the idea was brought to us about a Gwinnett County Sports Hall of Fame. We presented it as something like the Lombardi Awards in that it serves two purposes. It recognizes fantastic athletes and coaches that have come from Gwinnett, but also it's a fundraiser for student scholarships. And we never envisioned that it would grow this big, this fast. Pretty exciting names have already been inducted that you would know, George Rogers and others. And so we look forward to the future years. We have over 100 nominees that have been submitted.
So the old proverbial question, what came first, the chicken or the egg? The foundation was here before the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
But it is a great idea.
It's a great idea that had been around for a while, and several people had mulled over how do we get this off the ground. So we were excited to be the parent organization that could facilitate that. And we established the criteria for the Sports Hall of Fame. We made sure it was not exclusive to public school. It's private or public. If you've represented Gwinnett in any way, the bylaws say with honor in your sport, state or national. And it could be a sport that wasn't in the schools at the time you participated, such as Ezra Charles, the heavyweight champion. So it's always exciting to see the nominations that come through.
So it serves a dual purpose. It not only honors those athletes who had a very prestigious career here in Gwinnett County, but it also serves to the academic side of the overall school mission as well.
Absolutely.
Well, good. So you may have said this already, but when was the first class actually inducted as far as the Hall of Fame is concerned?
This was our third class, so 2010 was the first class.
And we just had an induction a few weeks ago that we're going to talk to David about in a minute. But and so how many people are actually in the Hall of Fame now?
We're at 11 currently. We generally induct between 5 and 6 each year, but it depends. We do require that the athletes be in attendance because that is so fun, and it's such a moving experience for the coaches to come back and have a chance to talk with their athletes. And so there are certain criteria, but right now we're at 11 and we see that expanding. And
the good thing I think you may have said is that anybody can make a nomination. Is that correct?
Yes.
How do you actually make a nomination to the Hall of Fame?
It's on our website, which is Gwinnett County Public Schools. You can go through the foundation website, which is www.gcps for Gwinnett County Public Schools -foundation.org. And again, I want to encourage everyone, it's not exclusive to public school. If you have a great name to nominate, by all means send it in.
Well, that's wonderful. That's great.
Thank you.
So we talked about we had a recent induction into the Gwinnett Hall of Fame. David was one of those members.
Yes.
David, talk to us a little bit about how you've sort of come full circle. You grew up in Gwinnett playing youth sports. You went to South Gwinnett. You went to Georgia. You went to the NFL, and then you came back to be honored as a Gwinnett County Hall of Fame sports inductee. Tell us about how that all sort of came full circle with you.
Well, it's a long story, but like you said, I grew up right here in Snellville. Went to South Gwinnett High School. Went on to play ball at Georgia, got drafted by the Seattle Seahawks, and I was probably like most folks here in Georgia. I didn't really know where Seattle was on the map. And played a couple years out there, went to New England, brief stint in Cincinnati, went to Indianapolis, finished my career in 2008. and decided to move back. Both my wife's family, Veronica, and my family live here in Gwinnett County. And so decided to set our roots here. We know a lot of folks, and this is just home for us. It's a place that we call home. We love it here. And so now I'm, married, got a couple kids, and in the working world with everyone else. So to be, obviously to be able to get inducted was a huge honor, because I grew up here. I know how talented the athletes are in Gwinnett County.
Absolutely.
I know a number of the coaches that coach SEC ball, they coach ACC ball. And I saw a bunch of them last week in an event. A lot of them asked me, say, "Where are you from? Where do you live now?" And I say, "Gwinnett County." And most of them, they all light up because they say, "Man, well, there's so many good athletes
They know
in Gwinnett."
where it's at, right?
And they're recruiting, and so many of these coaches are here in Gwinnett County. So to be in the third class and just to be 11, it's a huge honor.
Yeah.
And it was neat to have my family there and have Coach McFerrin, who was my high school football coach, was a huge honor.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that. I actually had the privilege of being there at that ceremony. That was the first one I've seen. Very, very moving experience, I think, and seeing everything that happened. But one of the things that you said that I thought was just great, and you mentioned your coach,
Right.
You gave him credit almost immediately when you were talking about the things that led you to be recognized. How important was he in that overall development of you, even as a high school athlete that you took on to University of Georgia and the NFL? How much of a part did he play in that?
He was huge, because if anybody followed South Gwinnett football as a sophomore when I was in 10th grade, we went 0-10. So the thought of getting a scholarship was so far out the window at that time. I was just looking to win my first high school football game, as you can imagine.
Right.
It wasn't popular to wear a letter jacket at South Gwinnett when I was in 10th grade. And so when he came as my junior year, he changed the whole mindset of the program. It was more than just wins and losses. He took a bunch of guys that didn't know how to win and turned us into winners. And so I gave him all the credit, and rightfully so, because if he didn't come to South Gwinnett, I would have never had the chance to move on and play ball at Georgia.
Just the style he brought and that kind of thing?
Yeah, and we, before we ran more of a wing tee set, we probably threw the ball 5 or 6 times a game. When Coach McFerrin came in, we were more of a pro-style offense, and I went from probably throwing for 600 yards my sophomore year to throwing for over 2,000 my junior. So I got a lot, I got to at least go out there and air the ball out a lot more and have a little bit more fun. That's what quarterbacks like to do. We like to go out there and throw it around and have fun and do all that. So with him, and we were a balanced attack. I'm not going to say it was all air and out. We had a great running back, T.J. Anderson, as well, and we had success. Whenever you're winning, that's what coaches like to see. And after that junior year, that's when I started getting letters. I started getting recruited. And before my senior year, I'd already had offers from Georgia and Georgia Tech and Ole Miss and a couple other schools.
And and David, I remember when you signed with Georgia out of South Gwinnett, and at that time, it was still a little bit unusual for Gwinnett County athletes to sign as a Division I school. But now, I mean, we see more and more and more of Gwinnett County. It seems like some of the whole teams, or senior teams, are signing with a major school. What do you think the reason for that is, as far as that overall evolution of these athletes that are coming out of Gwinnett?
Well, the whole recruiting process has changed so much. See, I was the kid that I was real simple, Stan. I hated the whole recruiting process where coaches are calling your phone, 10 times a day, wanting to know how you're doing, how you like in practice, how you going to do this week, who you playing. And I just didn't like all that. I think it's important when you're in high school, you need to be concentrating on high school. You need to figure out what you're going to do as a player to make your team better.
Right.
And you don't need to be thinking about college ball. It'll take care of itself. Now the kids are getting noticed earlier, and coming out of middle school, there's kids in 9th grade that are getting recruited. They got every little combine that you could ever imagine. So little Johnny can get his name out there, and to the college scouts can see him. And so the game has changed a lot. It's so much more competitive now, and then social media as well, where it's almost like a big publicity stunt where guys are putting their tapes out there trying to get recognized. The great thing about Gwinnett is every college coach in America, if you say Gwinnett County, they know exactly where it is. They know it's in Georgia, and they know exactly where it is. Because there's just so many talented guys that come out of here year after year. And like what Kelly said earlier, there's 100 people that already have nominations in right now. And the list is long. This is something, it's not going to be very hard to find some very good, credible people for years to come.
fantastic names on the list.
And names that we all know about.
Well,
I mean, these aren't any dark horses here.
We love the David Greens, but even more fun is to pull the ones out that are surprising, that you did not know there was a decathlon ranked 8th in the world from Gwinnett County, and there is. And so
and I
a little hint of names that are in that list that are very impressive.
Absolutely.
And I had no idea that even George Rogers went to Duluth, and I feel stupid for not knowing that, but I knew he'd win Heisman trophies.
Long-time Duluth resident.
I had no idea he was a Duluth Wildcat.
And like you, he's made full circle. I think he lives in Duluth again now, so I think he's come back home too. So
okay.
And we do have a component in the criteria that there is an element of have you brought honor to Gwinnett County. So it's not just a matter of your performance, it's the big picture of the person's career and what they represent to the district. And so George was an absolutely wonderful inductee, had a great class this year. It feels every year as if it can't get better, and it always gets better.
Absolutely. So. We're going to take a break, and David, when we come back, if you don't mind, I want to talk a little bit about how important sports are from a youth perspective. You certainly have been involved in sports from a very young age, and I want to talk about that a little bit. And then we'll finish up and talk a little bit more about the Hall of Fame and the Foundation. We're talking today about the Gwinnett Sports Hall of Fame and the Gwinnett Foundation. We're going to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back after these words.
Drivers face all kinds of distractions.
Guys, stop playing. No. 127 consecutive.
Before your wireless phone becomes one of them, stop. Drive safely. Keep your phone in easy reach and dial sensibly. In bad weather or traffic, call later and use a hands-free device. Remember, with wireless, safety is your call.
Welcome back to the show. We're talking today with Kelly Herndon from the Gwinnett Foundation and David Green, who was recently inducted into the Gwinnett Sports Hall of Fame. David, before the break we were talking about a variety of issues, but I want to talk just a little bit because the Sports Commission is very concerned about this overall topic of youth being involved in sports and how important that is. You've talked many times about you started playing youth sports at a very early age and worked your way all the way through. But how important is youth sports to the development of a kid, do you think? And are you still sort of utilizing some of those things you learned even as a man today in your professional life? So
yeah, there's no question. I mean, I played baseball, basketball, and football growing up. And to start off with, number one, I couldn't play those sports unless I brought home B's. If I made C's in school, it wasn't even enough for my dad. He said, you know, it's not a right to play sports, it's a privilege in my household. So I had to earn my way there. You know, but whenever you're on a team, and it's important, the number one, you're dependable. And I think you really have to do what's best for the team. And there's times where, you know, maybe I wanted to play linebacker, but they said, well, you know what, son, you're more like a quarterback. And you have to do what's best for the team.
Right,
and you learn to do it. And sports is a great setting because, you know, you learn how to compete. Because let's face it, this world's about competition, whether it's business or whatnot. You got to learn to show up even when you don't feel like it. And there's plenty of times at work where, you know, maybe we don't feel good today, or we don't feel like getting up and going to work, but you know what, you got to do it because there's people counting on you. And you learn those things as a kid, you know, playing sports. And so especially when I got to college. I think that's when it hit home more than anything, because you eat, breathe, and sleep football. While I was at Georgia, and there was, having to wake up at 5:30 in the morning and work out when I knew there was not a game till 7 months away, and my buddies were sleeping in their bed till 9:30. Right. That's tough.
It is.
It's tough, but you're part of something bigger, and I don't think anything at a young age can teach you that other than sports.
Yeah. Well, Kelly, we've talked so much today about the Sports Hall of Fame and the foundation, but if somebody who's watching the show today wanted to go to the Sports Hall of Fame, there really isn't anywhere for them to go so far.
Not a physical location.
Not a physical location. Tell us about what they can do, and then let's talk a little bit about what the plans may include.
We do have our archives on the internet, and we have money set aside for the permanent location, so that's pretty exciting. We've had a number of venues suggested to us, but we've been careful and selective. The trustees of the Gwinnett County Sports Hall of Fame look at each possibility, but you know what? They want it to be just the right fit.
Exactly.
The people in Gwinnett have been pretty vocal too about what they don't want. They want it to be something that's bringing honor to these athletes. It needs to be where it is a quality product.
Yeah.
And so we have met with several companies, pretty exciting things that are possible as far as the Hall of Fames that are at the colleges. We certainly are looking at that type of exhibit.
Yeah.
And so we think you'll hear something in the next 12 months.
Hope
We're getting
so.
close.
And
there's also a good bit of archival information in the district. Footage, old footage. Wouldn't that be exciting to be able to go back and look at old footage of high schools of athletes, not just the inductees, but of Gwinnett in general?
Yeah. Well, but for the virtual Hall of Fame that's sort of there now, how can somebody actually go see that? What's the website for that?
They go through the foundation website, which is gcps-foundation.org. But to be honest, we're out on YouTube. There are all kinds of great things. You just have to Google Gwinnett County Sports Hall of Fame.
That's perfect. Well, thank you for coming today and talking about the foundation and the Hall of Fame. David, congratulations on being inducted, and thank you for sharing a little of your time with us today. We appreciate it so much.
Well, thank you.
That's all the time we have today. If you have suggestions or ideas for future shows, you can reach us at the phone number or the email address shown at the end of the show. Thanks for being with us. I'm Stan Hall. See you next time, and hey, get in the game. Goodbye.